こんにちは。Hello.
I'm Keiko and I'm Mike.
I'm Mark Kubumatsu.
Inorganic filters are things like zinc oxide.
But when you get a disease, what they love in Russia.
Barbell Radio. So today on Barbell Radio we have another non-powerlifting related English episode. Sitting in front of me I have my brown, is that a racist slur?
No, I'm brown. I'm pretty sure I'm brown.
Friend CJ Clanor, who is a Muay Thai fighter here in Japan. Thank you for making the time to be on the show today.
Thank you for interviewing me.
Okay, so for those that may not know who you are, can you please introduce yourself and maybe why you're in Japan?
So my name is CJ. I'm a Philippino American from San Diego, California, and I am in the United States Air Force.
Right.
And so I'm stationed out here at Yokota Air Base, which is in Tokyo. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. How are you guys, like enjoying being in Japan?
I love Japan. So I used to live here for 2 years before in Aomori Prefecture.
Right.
And then I went to Korea for a year. And after Korea, I came here to Tokyo. So I love Japan. Daisuki.
Yeah, but it's like, how different is it from Aomori, Misawa, right?
Oh, it's totally
and then
different.
you being here in Yokota, which is pretty much in Tokyo, right?
Right, in the
Must
city.
be like a completely different, environment.
It is. Aomori is super quiet. It's like the countryside. I would say it's more family oriented. Whereas here we're in Tokyo, we're in the city.
Right.
There's so much to do on the weekends. But Aomori is beautiful. There's a lot to do sightseeing wise, and it has so much culture for Japan.
I've never been there actually.
We gotta go.
Yeah. And do you speak Japanese?
少しだけ.
少しだけ?
ちょっと
Well,
だ
there
け
we go.
No, I'm just kidding.
And you haven't struggled with anything, right? Like Japanese, like language wise, being in Japan?
In Aomori I did.
Right.
That's just because
No one speaks English?
A little bit.
Okay.
But at first, my first 2 years, it's just a learning experience.
Yeah.
I think body language really helps, and signs with your hands.
Right. And you obviously training Muay Thai in Japan.
Correct.
Have you had any struggles like language barrier when you're training or not at all?
Initially, yes, and sometimes I still do.
Right.
As you get higher in level, details and nitty gritty, like the really conceptual stuff is hard to convey sometimes.
Like what, for example?
So it's easy to be like, this is how you punch, this is how you kick, but to convey positioning and why you need to be in a certain place and have a certain technique in this position can get a little bit complicated.
Right.
But that's why Google Translate and body language.
And that's not
out.
something that you can show visually, but you kind of need like a verbal explanation.
Right.
For those
Because
things.
you do need to understand sometimes why you're doing something.
Right.
Yeah. Especially for setups and whatnot.
Yeah. And you explained to me before we started recording the gym that you go to right now.
Yes.
You literally just Google searched it.
I did.
And just turned up one day and then be like, yo, what's up?
Yep. 5 stars on Google.
Yeah.
Shout out to Shobukai Gym
There we go, in Hachioji.
in Hachioji.
Right.
Great gym.
And that was, everyone was supportive and, you didn't really have any language barriers there either.
So no one there, the kaicho speaks a little bit of English, and my coaches are Thai.
Right.
So they speak a little bit, but mainly Japanese.
Right.
All right, yeah. It's actually funny. I've never had a coach that speaks English yet. So when I was in Aomori, my coaches were Japanese.
Right.
In Korea, my coach was Korean. And here, they're Japanese and Thai.
Right.
But no one really speaks English. So I think that helps me learn better, though.
Right.
I think I've grown more.
I'd assume that because Muay Thai and you're fighting people from a foreign country that people might be able to speak English, but maybe not.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong. All right. So just the basic questions. What made you want to compete in Muay Thai?
Oh, so I'm a big fan of mixed martial arts. So I love watching fights. And I think I wanted to see if I could do it. Everyone talks a lot and you see a lot of people wanting to do it. Everyone says, oh, I'll do it one day.
Yeah.
But I just decided I'm going to do it.
Right. And that's what was your environment was like. Because you could have tried any other sport.
Right.
But I'm just trying to understand why you were trying to get into a combat sport.
Okay. So I did high school wrestling.
Okay.
I wrestled for 1 year.
Okay.
And then I did track and field for another 3 years.
Do
So
love
I
that.
love competing.
Right.
And I'm a big competitor when it comes to that stuff. So I wanted to compete. I wanted to see what I was made out of. I think that's the main thing. You get to, so one thing about fighting and being in the ring is you really get to know yourself. You're put in a position that that it's not normal, right? Not every day someone's being threatened to be hurt, you know,
So it's like how you would react to a situation where, I don't know.
You're in danger, yeah.
Yeah.
You're straight up in danger.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that way you get to learn about yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe that's kind of like something that's really hard to understand for me because, you know, I compete in powerlifting.
Right.
And that's, you're not really directly competing against people. You're indirectly comparing the numbers, but it's only you, right? So I'm like, I told you this before, like, I'm very curious to know, like, it's completely different sports, right? Powerlifting and Muay Thai, and you know, I'm very curious to know like what it feels like to have a competitor right in front of you, and you're directly, you know, combating with them. Yeah, so I'm very curious about
like the mindset, right?
Yeah.
So I took you to the gym today, right? You got to spar a little bit.
Yeah.
So you could see how it kind of feels just having someone else in front of you, punching and kicking. But you just have to think like. There's two ways to think about it. You can think about it, hey, this is a competition.
Right.
I'm trying to win. And the other way to think about it is, hey, this person's here trying to hurt me, so I have to hurt them before they hurt me. Right.
What is your approach?
It's both, right? I want to win. I'm competitive. I want to be a winner. I want to be the better man. And it's like controlled violence,
right?
So to say, right? And it's beautiful violence because martial arts is still an art form. So myself, I never felt artistic growing up. I wasn't good at painting. I wasn't good at like music, but I think martial arts is where my art comes into play.
Have you had anyone around you who was like, but it hurts, or like, why you, like your family member, like why do you enjoy fighting? Like you're like gonna get hurt.
All right.
Have you had anyone tell you that?
I get a couple people sometimes. They say, do you like getting hit in the face? I don't think anyone enjoys getting hit in the face.
Yeah, but it's so much more than that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I'll tell you, getting your hand raised at the end of a fight, especially like a really hard fight,
Right.
there's no other feeling like it. Like it's inexplicable, and I wish everyone could have that feeling at least one time in their life. You know, to be able to win a hard-fought fight where it's just physical. You know, it's physical, it's mental, everything.
Yeah.
And you're putting your heart and soul into it. So
Yeah.
it's very rewarding. Fighting is a very high-risk sport, right? Because you could train every day. You could sacrifice all your time. You could commit to it 110%, and you still might not win.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
at the end of the day, usually there's only one winner.
And you don't really get to know until your hand gets
Exactly,
raised, right?
yeah. And anything, that's what I love about the sport. Anything can happen.
Right.
Right? Like, you could, you said it earlier, you could be winning the fight, and then all of a sudden, bam, you get knocked out.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
And you could be like the stronger fighter, but you're just having a bad
Bad
day.
night, yeah. Yeah.
Wait, I think your necklace is like rubbing on the mic, like directly. I'm scared that it will.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, it's fine. I feel like it's just like, I don't want to get the. Oh, you're good. Okay.
Should we check the audio?
Oh, it's fine. It's
Okay.
fine. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know much about the sport.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
So can you clarify the difference between Muay Thai and MMA?
MMA, okay.
Yeah.
And boxing and stuff
And
like
boxing
that, right?
and stuff like that as well. I feel like that's a very stupid question.
No,
but
it's a very.
I would Google it and I still wouldn't understand.
No, it's a very valid question. Because a lot of people they just see it as fighting, right? And it's all fighting. So boxing is only with your hands,
Right.
only punching, right? Kickboxing is your feet and your hands and sometimes knees. Muay Thai, it originated in Thailand.
Yeah.
It's the art of 8 limbs, and it's hands, feet, knees, and elbows.
Okay.
All right, and clinching too, kubizumo, which is like neck sumo in Japanese, right? And mixed martial arts is, like the name says, it's mixed, so everything goes, for the most part. With certain rule sets, everything goes.
What do you mean? You're allowed to do anything?
Right, you can combine all the styles
Right.
to fit your style. So mixed martial arts has grappling and striking. So it has like wrestling, jiu-jitsu with boxing and Muay Thai, judo, taekwondo, you name it. If in a mixed martial arts fights, you can do it.
That's like a lot of factors to think about. There must be like a lot of different like techniques and styles. Like whereas boxing, if you're only using your hands, like the skills or like the techniques would be kind of limited. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why they call boxing the sweet science, right? Because there's only so many angles and so many things that you can do that you can not perfect it, but you can kind of break it down to a formula, right? Whereas mixed martial arts, back in the day, probably like early 90s, early 2000s, a lot of fighters were one style, right? It'd be like, oh, this guy's a judo guy. He's going to go against a boxer. So you'd see boxing versus judo. And it'd be very interesting to see how the styles match up. But nowadays, a lot of people are very well-rounded. And everyone knows a little bit of everything.
Right.
So it makes it super dynamic. And that's where personal styles come into play on top of what you've already learned.
Right, okay. And can you maybe explain this?
So
for those listening on the audio, there's like a big red leather belt sitting right in front of me. It weighs about 5 kilos?
Probably 5
kilos. 5 kilos?
Yeah.
Can you explain that? What is this?
So this is the IMC Intercontinental Muay Thai belt for middleweight division. I fight, my previous fight was with BOM, or Battle of Muay Thai, Japan's #1 Muay Thai organization, shout out. And I had a good opportunity, or a great opportunity I should say, and a big chance to fight for the middleweight belt in my first Muay Thai fight. My first professional Muay Thai fight.
Middleweight would be the most populated, right? I'm assuming.
It depends on location. Right. I think in Thailand and predominantly Asia, a lot of the lower weights are filled with fighters. Okay. Whereas in the West, like America and Europe, a lot of the heavier weights are filled with fighters. So it just depends on location.
Right. And you fought at Osambashi Hall in Yokohama, which is like a very... is that like a very well-known venue, would you say?
That was I would say it is. Because that was my first time even hearing about it or going there. Yeah. But when I would mention it to people, they'd be like, oh, Osanbashi. Yeah. And it was super beautiful.
And how did you enjoy the whole feeling of it, the atmosphere, actually fighting there, like your overall, how did you feel?
I loved it. So for those that don't know, when you start in amateur fights, it's usually at like a smaller gym, or the venues aren't big. It's not like what you see on TV, you know? Right. It's just like a bunch of fights, and it's very quick, right? But as you progress in levels, as you get higher and stuff, the venues get bigger, the lights get brighter, the crowds get bigger, and the pressure gets higher too, you know? But for this fight, I actually felt very calm. It was kind of surprising to myself. I did a Thai dance. It's called the Waikru, or Thai no Odori, right? And I was more nervous for that than the fight.
Really?
I was super nervous. I don't know if you saw my face. I was thinking about it too much. I was like, don't mess up.
Oh, so it's like choreographed?
Yes.
Like every step?
Yes.
Or it's like, you go here and then you go here?
Right. The format's the same, but what you do is up to you. Right. But within certain styles, right? So my teammates, there's 4 kids at my gym, and they taught me the
Really?
Waikru. Yeah, they were my teachers, my senseis.
Aww.
Yeah, it was super cute. Okay. And but they were laughing after my Waikru because they were like, you messed up, you know, fix this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't very nervous about actually fighting at this?
No. So before, and it really surprised me as well, because before, for my other fights, my first professional kickboxing fight in Korea, I was super nervous. I had so many friends come out to watch, and I was just very tense the whole time. Right. You know, I just wanted to get it over with. But for this fight in Osambashi, I was super calm. You know, I was smiling. I was just enjoying, joking with everybody. Yeah. I felt just prepared. I was able to trust myself, trust my training, trust my gym and my coaches, and I just felt good about everything.
Yeah. Maybe it's like maybe you felt confident almost?
Very confident. I did. And even though it was my first Muay Thai fight, I felt super confident. I felt like we had trained properly. Yeah. We did the proper research on my opponent, and we just had a good game plan also, a good strategy. Well,
talking about your opponent, for this fight, it was a highly competitive opponent, right?
Yes, champion, 3-crown champion.
Yeah, I was I told you this, but I felt like I was even intimidated, like watching the opening video of him, and it was, did you like have any concerns like going into the fight, or like what were some of his strengths and weaknesses that you were mindful of coming into this fight about your opponent?
So first and foremost, he's a phenomenal fighter. He's super strong. He's a very good power puncher, right? And looking at his highlights, like you said, he's knocking everybody out. You know, straight up knocking everybody out. So when my Kaicho, the owner of the gym, first told me about the fight, right? He texted me. He said, "Hey, you're fighting for the belt in December," and this is probably in August or September, so 3 months before.
Right.
And what I responded to him was, "You're joking, right?" I said, "Jodan de shoka," right?
Yeah.
Because like this is my first fight, and it's for a belt.
Right.
And for a whole week, I was like, "No, this is a joke. I'm nervous. I don't want to do this." But after talking to them a little bit more, I gained the confidence, and and I said, "You know what? If I'm gonna go do something, I'm gonna do it big." Right.
So where did that "I don't want to do this" kind of feeling come from? Like, because you were scared?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was scared at first. I didn't believe in myself.
Right.
I let excuses get to me. I said, "Oh, this is my first fight. I shouldn't be fighting a champion. He's too good." And I just talked myself out of it, right? The first week. And that's not healthy, right?
Yeah. So was there anything that made you feel like, oh, maybe it's okay, like I'm gonna do it? Like, did you have anything, or did some other people's words maybe convinced you that it is okay?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think the first thing that really got me was one of my coaches. He had said, "Hey, like, I believe in you and I think you can do it," and that really meant a lot.
Right.
And that just gave me such a big confidence booster. And after we had implemented a game plan, like a strategy, for the fight, I felt even more confident. And then after that, you really just have to trust in yourself.
Right.
And you have to, self-belief is such a big thing, but self-belief has to be built on experience and the work you put in. There's a lot of people that believe in themselves, but they don't want to put the work in, right?
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, I can do it," but they didn't train properly. But if you train properly and you dedicate and you put in 100% effort, then you have nothing.
But people who don't do it, I feel like they don't really believe in themselves 100%.
It's a false self-belief, right? It's a false self-belief.
Yeah, it's like a very superficial
Yes.
thing almost.
Right. They're trying to convince themselves.
Yeah,
right?
which I kind of understand anyways. But so what were some of the things that you had your eyes on about this opponent?
So thankfully, because he has a lot of experience, there's a lot of film on him. So on YouTube, I Googled I YouTubed his name, watched a lot of his fights.
Right.
I probably watched his fights like multiple times, like a bunch of times, and just studying what he does, how he reacts to his opponents. He has a very strong left hook, a left hook straight, so I knew that coming in. So I was like, all right, I got to keep my hands up when I'm in there. He has a very good low kick, a strong low kick, and a high guard. Right, so just little things like that I observed through film.
Right, and just observing that, are you actually able to like implement that during your fight? I feel like you said you don't remember a lot of the things that you did in the fight. Do you maybe you forgot?
Oh yeah, no, it's
like some of the things that he was really strong at, and you got to keep your guard at the high. Like you might completely forget that at the fight. Like, can you implement that? Like,
yeah, so that all goes back to your training, right? So what you do, they say how you train is how you fight, right? So if you're going to train certain drills and certain techniques and combinations, that's how you're going to fight. So those are things that we worked on, knowing his style. Right. We worked on certain, like my elbows. I knocked him down with elbows in the third round. We had trained those elbows day and night,
Yeah, because your teammates were yelling elbows the whole time.
Yep. Elbow the whole time.
And my friend sitting next to me was like, okay, I don't know what this elbow is supposed to mean. Does that mean like get his elbow, or like get him with his your elbow? So like people yelling. So you actually discussed that with your coach and your kaicho, and then you train specifically to fight this opponent.
Yes, yes. And as you get so with amateur fights, you don't know. Usually, you don't know who you're fighting. So that's like you have to adapt on the fly.
Right.
But as you get higher levels, especially in the pro rankings, you know who your opponent is ahead of time for the most part, and it gives you time to study and formulate a game plan. So I had known about this opponent for about 3 months before the fight.
Did you know him before?
I did actually. I did. So before I even had a fight lined up,
Yeah.
I YouTubed Bomb Battle of Muay Thai, and because he was around my weight class, you know, I looked at all the fights around my weight class, and I remember seeing him for the first time, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's crazy. I was like, I hope I don't ever have to fight this guy.
Oh.
You know, and these are just honest thoughts that a lot of fighters, even in the higher, like super high champions, they think about these things. You know,
Right.
They're like, oh man, everyone has their doubts, you know, but you have to use those doubts to your benefit.
Right.
Right.
And you had a slight advantage of, you told me before, that you didn't have a lot of film with your fights.
Right.
So he wasn't able to observe what kind of fighter you were.
Correct, yeah. And even if he did find my old fights, they were so crappy
Okay.
that he probably would have been like, this guy's easy.
So no one actually like saw you coming almost.
Right. And that's like something that was really in my favor. And also being a new fighter and everything, or to this organization and to the sport, I barely had pressure. Like I had nothing to lose, to be honest. And him being a champion and he's popular, you know, he's super famous. Like I want to be his friend too.
Yeah.
He had a lot of pressure on him, you know. He's going against someone like a no name, and he just didn't know anything about him. So
Well, that's gonna change from now on.
it is.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get used to that.
Yeah, you know what's funny about winning any belt or any championship in any sport? It only gets harder after.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like a lot of people think, oh, you're the champion now, like you've reached a certain height, you're good. No, it only gets harder from here. There's a target on my back now.
Yeah.
Right? There's a target on my back. I guarantee you there are people that watch my fight and were like, I can take CJ. I can beat him up.
Yeah.
And I hope they have that mentality.
Yeah.
Because I want to fight the best people. You know, I think this fight really boosted my confidence as far as like trusting myself and trusting my training. I know now that if I train properly and with the right game plan, I can beat anybody. You know what I mean?
Do you think that it was it was like it made a big difference, you not having a lot of films and your opponent not being able to study your moves and stuff like that? Do you think it made a big difference?
I think so. I think it was hard for him to formulate a game plan. He had to adapt on the fly. But at the same time, my fights from before, I hadn't fought since last February.
Right.
Or this past February in Korea.
Okay.
And it was with a different gym and different rule sets for kickboxing.
Right.
So I had never fought under Shobukai yet. And even if he had watched my fights from before, I'm a totally different fighter. So I feel like it wouldn't have been too much of an advantage at all.
Okay.
But he knew going in, and I knew going in, that we were both power punchers.
Okay.
Right.
Power punches meaning just really like speedy, strong punch.
Strong punches.
Yeah.
Like we can knock someone out with our hands and by punching someone. Like that's what we're known for, you know. Because there are different styles. There are people that are very technique based and they can win on points and decisions, and there are people that just want to knock other people out. And I'm
what are some of the small like techniques? Like, can you give an example?
So as far as like scoring goes, right?
Because I don't understand the scoring either. I was watching the game, being like, so if he does this, then does that mean that he gets more points? Like we didn't understand,
right.
Like the rules,
okay,
and the scoring.
So with Muay Thai, it varies on places, but Thai scoring in general is it's really, I don't know how to explain it, but like your effectiveness of your strikes. So like your kicks and your punches,
right.
How much damage you can cause, stuff like that is like adds up.
Effectiveness is a very subjective thing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, effective to the judges, and to the sport itself. So, for example, with kickboxing or boxing, right? It's you can go super light and just punch the guy a lot of times, right? But it might not do damage. In Muay Thai, like it's all about timing. If I can land 2 or 3 really strong, good strikes, that can impress the judges more than if I punched a lot but didn't do any damage.
Right. Okay. So more punches doesn't necessarily mean that it's better score.
Exactly. Yeah, damage done, and technique also. In Muay Thai, technique is a very important thing, right?
Right.
So the clinch, the kubizamo, being able to land knees in the clinch, and elbows are beautiful, right? Because it's part of Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Elbows score pretty high, and there's this thing called a teep, which is it's like a Thai front kick.
Okay.
and that scores very well too. So it just depends on the technique, on the rule set, and how it's scored.
And if you get punched, for example,
Okay.
and if you can you like pretend that it didn't affect you at all? For the judges, to make the judges think like that you weren't affected by it.
Yeah.
Do people do that's a
that's the thing. Yeah, a poker face is very important in any combat sport,
right?
Because the judges are looking at your face, and the referee especially is looking at your face, and they teach us when you get hit, you're not supposed to show it, right? And a lot of the times you'll see fighters get hit and they'll smile, and it's because either they felt it or they knew they messed up.
Right.
You saw me smiling in my fight too.
Yeah.
And it's because I knew I messed up. He had thrown me on the ground, right? He sweeped me, he dumped me.
Yep.
And I got up because I was smiling, and I said, in my head, I knew that shouldn't have happened. I knew I shouldn't have made that mistake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can play out in both favors, you know. But also you can like taunt your opponent. If you can, like I was telling you earlier, fighting, like I would say like 80 or 90% of it's mental. You know, if you can get in the head of your opponent before the fight, you're already a step ahead, and you have an advantage.
I feel like that's another whole different world other than the physical fighting.
Absolutely,
stuff.
yeah, absolutely. You have to be in the right mindset to fight. Like I said, it's some people it's like an on and off switch. That's how we can like be so nice after the fight to each other and be respectful. And respect's a big thing in Muay Thai and any like combat sport. It should be respect and just being just a good person, you know. Like it's you're trying to hurt someone, but at the end of the day, like we can shake hands and be like, hey, thank you for the competition.
I feel like being emotionally strong, I don't know, for lack of a better word, is this something that you train in the gym? Can you train that in the gym? Where did you train your mindset?
Yes and no. I would say the number one thing, and this is what my coaches always tell me, the number one thing in Muay Thai and fighting is heart. Heart is number one, and then stamina comes second, right? And then after that is like technique and all the other stuff. But heart, I want to say you can train heart, but at the same time, I think it's one of those things you have it or you don't. And that's like how it goes back to me saying you get to know yourself, right? That's why it's the fight or flight.
Right.
Some people fly away and some people fight. And not everyone has heart, and that's okay if not everyone has heart, but it does come down to heart.
And you were telling me earlier that you weren't always a confident person.
Right. Yeah, no, especially when it comes to fighting, I'm like most of the time I'm super nervous.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I didn't trust in my training before. Like I knew, and there's a saying that says, you'll only know how hard you trained,
right?
When you're in the ring,
yeah,
right? Because you'll know if you ran that extra mile or if you cut it short. If you did, same with powerlifting, if you did the extra reps, you'll know come competition time if you put in the right or the proper training.
Right. It doesn't lie, right?
It doesn't lie, yeah.
Yeah.
The competition never lies.
Yeah. And that emotional, the building of I feel like your emotional, I don't know how to explain it, your toughness
Yes.
is pretty much, what's the word, linear to your physical training as well. Like the more you train physically, the more like if you can't keep up mentally, then it's both training at the same time, right? Like
yes. So
in the gym,
conditioning and callousing your mind
is
just as important as physical conditioning. But yeah, that's in the gym. That's pushing yourself like to run that extra mile or to do more repetitions. That is in the gym for sure. Heart is something that like I think it's just a personality trait. But as far as like mental conditioning, that's totally you can do that. You can train that.
Right.
Yeah.
What's one of your biggest like something that you want to improve on in that perspective?
There's so much, and I feel like I'm always a student. You know, I'm always a student, and like I know I want a belt and stuff, but there's so much more that I need to work on. You know, and that's the thing about fighting. There's always going to be growth, and there's always going to be something to work on.
Right.
Specifically, my technique. I would say my technique is not the best. And maybe it's because I've only been training for like this next year March will be 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm still pretty fresh. but I would say my technique is something. I think my stamina improved drastically for this fight.
Right.
And it's because I put in the miles. I ran the miles that I should have been running.
What about mentally?
Mentally,
something that you can improve on, or something that you did right this fight that you can maybe bring to your next fight?
I stayed calm. I stayed very calm. I didn't freak out.
Yep.
And I wasn't so tense. Because being and emotionally charged, right? You were talking about emotions earlier.
Yep.
Being emotionally charged in a fight, it's not always a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people say, get angry and you can fight someone. You don't want to be angry in there. Because when you're angry, you're going to make mistakes.
Right.
You know? But definitely, that's stuff I'm trying to work
That's
on.
like a very hard balance, because you can't be too calm and collected.
Right, exactly.
But at the same time, like you said, you can't be too emotionally charged. Otherwise, you wouldn't really be able to, focus, right?
Exactly.
Almost feel like shaking and like anger and stuff like that. So you got to find like the right balance between that. And it varies with different sports too. And you know, powerlifting, surprisingly, you have to be very calm at the start, especially during your squat.
Really?
Yeah, and you build up until your deadlift.
Well, don't you guys use ammonia
Ammonia
salts?
for deadlifts, usually.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But then you start off squats, kind of technical, very calm. Bench, more technical.
Okay.
So if you're shaking with like anger, you're definitely going to mess up something, you know. But deadlift, like you can really fuck up almost.
Right.
And then you just have to get it up.
Okay.
And so it's like the balance of how calm you are is like, it varies with powerlifting, and I'm sure it's different to Muay Thai as well. And it will be very hard to find the balance between that, right?
Yeah.
Because it will vary with the sport, vary with the person. Like you would have different reactions towards your emotions as well. So learning, you know, competing more, and then learning more about how you react when you are at the venue is, maybe that was something that you were able to take on as well.
Yeah, no, it's all experience, you know. I think it's good to have those, you know, the first time's always going to be new, right? It's going to be new and it's going to be unfamiliar. But as you keep going through those processes, through those competitions, you get to have your own rhythm. And I think having your own rhythm is important, because that's how you can judge your baseline for too calm or too much, you know. So definitely, yeah.
The more you compete. Okay, so I want to ask about your fluctuation in emotions leading up to the fight.
Okay.
You already touched on it a little bit when you first heard that you're fighting this opponent.
Scared.
Until
so scared.
the moment of the fight. Can you take us through that process if you remember?
Yeah, so where do you want to start? Walking into the arena?
Let's go from like a few weeks out.
A few weeks out?
Yeah.
Okay.
How were you feeling? Because I remember you telling me that you were nervous.
Yes, a little bit, yeah. So a few weeks out, so I would say about 2 weeks out, you just want to fight already. You want it to go, you just want to be there, right?
Really?
And I think for me, like, those are the hardest 2 weeks of training, because I just want to fight already. Yeah, and you still have to put the work in, you know, you still have to show up to practice every day. When really all I can think about, so I would go home from practice and I'd sit in the shower, or I'd stand in the shower for like, it's a waste of water, but 30 to 40 minutes. And I think 10 minutes of that is showering, and the other 20 minutes is me visualizing the fight.
Right.
So I've read a couple books on fighting, like having the proper mindset before a fight and after, how to utilize fear as a benefit, right? Because no matter what, everyone's going to be fearful of something.
Right.
Right. But to have positive fears, which makes sense. But yeah, so I would be in the shower, and every night I would just think about it. And I think the week of the fight, I'm just excited.
Yeah.
You know, that my diet was good, my water intake was good. There was one night where I think I was so excited that I fell asleep, but I remember I woke up because I punched the air. I was like sleeping and I had a dream, and I punched the air like that. I woke up, I was like, whoa. I was like, I think I need to relax a little bit.
Yeah, because the day before the fight, you told me, like, I'm really excited.
Yes. And I actually learned a new Japanese word, kinjo.
Kinjo. Oh, okay.
It's nervous, right?
Kinjo,
but
yeah.
that's because everyone kept asking me, like,
Kinjo shiteru.
Kinjo shiteru, right? And I was like, no, like, tanoshimi. Like, I'm excited. And I think that surprised a lot of people. I think they thought I'd be more nervous, and I thought I'd be more nervous, but I genuinely was excited. Like, I just wanted to fight. And yeah. And
just going back a little bit to when you are standing in the shower, that's like a thing, right? Like a mental training. So it's like
I would say that's like my meditation.
Yeah,
that would be my meditation.
And I think I read an article about Michael Phelps, and he would do his mental training as well, and he would imagine him swimming in a race.
Yes.
And then like he would imagine if his goggles all of a sudden filled with water, he would imagine that situation. So he would imagine the worst kind of scenario that could happen in a fight, and then he would think about the way around it. So it's like, how can I fix it when the worst thing that you could ever have, like that could ever happen, if that happened, what would I do?
Yeah, that's smart.
And,
yeah,
and it's like how many strokes I would until I can touch the end of the pool, and he would imagine everything about that. And I've heard that, interviewing with a few athletes, a lot of athletes have actually used that kind of strategy. What were you thinking when you were like standing in the shower? What were you imagining?
Exactly, like envisioning everything. I wouldn't say I would go as far as Michael Phelps did, but that I think I might use that in the future, right, to react to certain situations. But I I've read like I listen to a lot of podcasts also, like Joe Rogan, and I like Liam Harrison. He's a UK world champion Muay Thai fighter.
Okay.
And he has a mental coach. I forget his name, Vinny something. Yeah.
Okay.
But I've listened to a couple of his things, and one thing they stress is visualizing the competition day. But I forget who had said it, but they said visualize it backwards. A lot of people visualize the end goal, right? But they had said to visualize it backwards. Start at the end goal and then work your way in how you got there.
What do you mean the angle?
Or the end goal, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I would visualize me getting my hand raised with the belt around my waist. I know that sounds
the end goal. Okay,
end goal,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I would that's what I was thinking about in the shower, is me getting my hand raised. And then from there, I would go back, how am I going to do it? Am I going to knock him out? Am I going to win by the judge's decision? Am I going to get knocked out? Those are all things that for like 3 weeks straight, or even longer, I would just think about in the shower. But it's visualization.
Yeah.
And so when you get there, when you're in there, you've already seen it, and you can hopefully dictate the fight or the pace and competition.
I feel like there's so much factors involved when you're fighting with an actual person, though, because if you are imagining something during a powerlifting meet, you can pretty much like kind of understand what could happen.
Okay. Right. You either lift it or you don't.
Yeah, it's like you have the bar, you're there.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the atmosphere, you have to imagine that. And the music playing, what you're going to see when you're ready to squat and everything like that. But in a fight, it's like you're fighting with a human being. Like
there's so many factors.
Anything could happen, right?
And that's what I love about it. Anything can happen.
Yeah. So the visualization part of it, there must be so many things to visualize.
And like we're going back to watching film, right? I can visualize a lot because I've seen his film.
Right.
But for someone that I haven't seen their film, it's going to be a little bit harder to visualize.
Do you think that would make you more nervous?
Not having information on someone?
Like being uncertain.
Yes, I think so. I think it gave me confidence watching his fights. Right. Like knowing, like, all right, this is what he's going to do. So not knowing what someone can do, or even just a general feeling, I would say it would make me a little nervous, or I would just have to be more cautious during the fight.
Okay.
Right, because I never know if they're going to spin around and kick my face.
Or
throw an elbow from up top.
That's fucking scary. And you actually told me about walking into the ring.
Yes.
And with your music and something like that.
Oh, the walkout.
Yeah, the walkout.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me about that.
For the past 2, 3, 5, I think I've been able to choose my walkout music for my kickboxing fight and then this Muay Thai fight. And usually it's a song that sticks with me during training camp, right? Something, because on my drive to practice, there's a certain song that usually sticks to me, and I'll play it right before I get to the gym, so I'm feeling it, right? My mindset's ready. And this one was Kid Cudi Immortal. It's a little bit older song. I don't even know how I found it. But there's certain lyrics in there where he's like, lightning in my veins, tonight I feel immortal. I'm living my life as if I've got powers, and then tonight I feel immortal. And also there's a part where he says, I can't explain it, but I just had a sudden peace in my walk. And I think that really, I don't know why, that stuck with me. And I felt so calm for no reason.
Wow, so there was a lot of depth behind why you chose that song.
Yes, absolutely, and just listening to that song, like it made me feel empowered. You know, and like I truly felt like I'm immortal that night. Like I have the power to do whatever I want.
Right.
I am immortal,
Right.
and he can't take me out. You know, like that's genuinely how I felt, and I think that's why I felt so calm.
And that's all it matters, because I feel like a lot of people would choose songs that are like hype.
Yeah, yeah, they have a nice beat.
And like very recent hip hop
right,
trap style
yeah, something that gets
music.
them like, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, but then I knew that there was something about why you chose that song.
Right.
Yeah, and it had something to do with the lyrics, and you know, a Japanese crowd, they wouldn't understand what you're saying.
Right.
But it doesn't really matter because it's your song, right?
Right, you know, and
Yeah.
that's the whole point of a walkout song. There's a lot of like famous UFC fighters that they have one walkout song, and there's a reason for it, you know. There's a fighter named Chan Sang-jung. He's Korean. His nickname is the Korean Zombie.
Okay.
And he walks out to the song Zombies by the Cranberries. And in the song it goes, zombie, zombie, right? So that's his nickname, and I get chills listening to that song.
Right.
You know, I watched him walk out to it, and I got chills. And the walkout song means a lot to the fighter, you know.
It's your song.
Right, and for a lot of fighters, that's the song that puts them into that mindset, right? We're talking about changing your mindset before a fight.
Right.
That's the mindset that you have to have to fight. Because, like I told you earlier, there are days you're gonna not want to hit somebody.
Yeah.
You know, like as much as even a violent person, there are days where they're just gonna be like, I just don't feel like fighting. You know, and
that's a very random.
It's very, for me, it's random. Like there'll be days, even if I'm like, I've had a good night's sleep, I had a lot of food to eat, there are days where I just like, I don't feel like hitting someone else today, you know?
Yeah.
And you just hope it's not on the night of your fight.
Yeah.
Because that happens to fighters like all across every level. You hope it's not on the night of your fight.
That would suck.
Yeah, because you've trained so hard, you know, you and other people have sacrificed so much
Yeah.
time, but it happens, you know, it happens.
That's the whole point of a fight, is you have to.
Yeah, yeah, you're taking a big risk
Yeah.
going in there, you're putting your body on the line, and I know a lot of other sports, you know, you're sacrificing your body, but like, you know, like with power, whenever, like that feeling of winning and achieving something that you worked so hard for, it's such a good feeling, you know, and it's because you stepped out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Right, you put in the hard work, you just dedicated yourself,
Yeah.
you know,
And achieving something that you never thought that you will be able to do.
exactly,
Yeah.
you know, like, yeah, something that you're like, I don't know, you know, and that's the cool thing about fighting is like, I was trying to take it round by round, you know, I wasn't, if you can't focus like too much on like, this is how I'm gonna win, da da da. You just have to take it round by round,
Right.
punch by punch, kick by kick, because, you know, not everything goes according to plan. I got knocked down in the third round. I
Right.
didn't expect that,
Yeah.
you know, but you get back up and you keep fighting.
And was that like a euphoric feeling almost when you knew that you had won? Well, what kind of feeling was it? Do you even remember?
I don't remember. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
glad there's that video.
Yeah.
Because I think that video, and I don't know if you can play it when you upload
Yeah,
a
yeah,
podcast.
I will.
But that reaction, that was genuine. Like, just, I don't even remember it. I just know that that's in the moment. That's how my body felt. You know, I just was like, and I like hugged my coaches and everything. Like I don't like. I kind of remember it. Like I remember hugging them, but like me going you know, like it's so fast.
Yeah.
You know.
And your coach had like blood on his
Oh, did
shoulder.
he?
Yeah.
I feel so bad. Oh no, I didn't know
I'm
that.
sure he was happy. Yeah. So your song, you obviously chose this song. Are you able to? Are you gonna keep using this song?
Yeah.
Do people do that?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, there are people that like use the same song over and over. There's some people that change it up. I think if this is the song I feel is right while preparing for the next fight, then I'll use it again. If I find a new song that like taps into my emotions, then I'll use that. So it's, you know, it's a day by day, fight by fight kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do love that song because I do feel immortal whenever I listen to it. You know, and there'd be days where when I get to practice, before I walk in, when I'm listening to the song in my car, I'm just I'm screaming. I'm yelling. I'm singing the song. I'm yelling it. Japanese people are like walking, like looking in my car, making sure I'm okay. You know, but I'm
Fucking weirdo.
yeah. You know.
Maybe it's good to train to attach a certain emotion when you're listening to that song.
Yes.
So when that song plays, you know what you're gonna be like
Yes.
you forcibly attach an emotion towards
Yes,
yourself.
you flip the switch.
Yeah.
Yep. And any competitor can do that, right? Powerlifting, Muay Thai, football,
Yeah.
soccer, anything, right? If you attach like a certain emotion and mindset to like a medium, then that can work wonders.
Yeah,
Like that's how
a
people have
strategy.
lucky things, superstitious things, right? Like
Right.
lucky sock or a lucky card,
Yeah.
lucky keychain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lucky song.
lucky song, right?
Yeah.
I was actually another thing going to this fight. I had fought every December for the past 2 years,
Okay.
so I never really got to enjoy my Thanksgiving because I always had a fight the first week of December,
Right,
for the past even this year, third year, and but I had lost those 2 fights in December.
Right.
So I started getting superstitious,
Oh, okay.
and I was like, man, maybe just December is not my month to fight. Maybe I'm always gonna lose in December, right? And so that was also a thing coming into this fight.
Yeah, it could be taken as a negative way as well.
Right.
like
But
a
I was like, you know
negative
what? I'm gonna break that cycle. Yeah. So it's always just going into like mental health and stuff. It's really just learning how to talk to yourself,
Yeah.
and supporting yourself and being your number one fan. You know,
Self-awareness.
self-awareness.
probably.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like that.
where that comes from, maybe. And obviously achieving things that you never thought was was possible.
Right.
What is another like a rewarding thing being a fighter?
There's
you
so
can-
much.
yeah.
I mean, like right now I'm like taking words from other fighters and stuff. But like winning, right? Obviously, winning is the ultimate goal. And like how we had said earlier, achieving something you never thought was possible. But I think for me personally, the cool thing that I've realized is the growth and looking back, seeing how much I've improved
Right.
over time, because it's not overnight, it's practice by practice. And to be able to look at myself when I first started fighting to now, like if we could put a side-by-side comparison video of me training, you'd be like, who is this other guy,
Right.
And like, it just takes time. It takes time and consistency and dedication. So I think that's something I really enjoy, is seeing the growth.
Right.
seeing
And
that
it's not even
progression.
only in the gym. It's like your diet, your
Yeah,
mindset, that's
yeah.
all growing, right?
I think for this fight too, the growth is I've ran the most I've ever ran in my life, preparing for this fight, and the furthest, like 8 kilometers, stuff like that, like on a regular.
Wow. I'm glad I didn't go for a run with you today.
We should have won.
No.
I fought at the lowest weight ever.
Okay.
72.5 kilos. So nanaju ni tengo, right? And I dieted to that weight and healthily, so I didn't have to cut a lot. And I'm walking around at a good weight right now. And then what else was a really good thing about the growth? And just the technique, the technique of I'm seeing how I'm getting better. And it makes me happy because I'm like, oh, I'm getting there. And the thing about fighting is everyone starts the same. Whether you're athletic or not athletic, you're talented or not, everyone starts at the same level. Like, someone else might pick things up faster, but it's whoever puts the time and effort
Right.
will get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it makes me realize how attainable things are. I think that's the most important
Right.
thing. Is being my first fight, did I think I'd be fighting pro fights, and winning a championship? Absolutely not. I didn't even think that 4 months ago.
Right.
So
It's not only like a genetic thing. 'Cause there's so much skill and strategies involved that you have to maintain during your training.
yes,
It's not something like gymnastics where you're like, oh yeah, she's genetically more gifted. Like some people start.
is that
a lot
a
of people.
thing in gymnastics?
That's huge.
Okay.
Flexibility, your bone structure and everything.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. But with fighting, I feel like it's more like technique based. There's so much like skills. So maybe more people start at the same level, like you said,
Right.
at the start.
Well, it is also genetic.
Is
as
it?
as far as like how your body reacts and how your body fights.
Like a reaction time?
Right, and like some people have fast twitch muscle fibers. Some people have so it really it comes to knowing your genetics and using that to your advantage.
Right. Okay.
So I wouldn't say like it's a genetic advantage for anyone. It's just how you utilize your genetics
Right.
can be an advantage. You know.
Okay, because powerlifting's pretty genetic too, actually.
I would say so. There are some big guys, you know,
Yeah.
big guys and gals that you're just like, how are you born with that much muscle?
Yeah, and if you have shorter legs too, and longer arms means better in the deadlift, but not very good for your bench.
Oh,
'cause you're
absolutely
more-
not. No,
yeah,
yeah.
so it's
I have like super short friends that are like benching 300 pounds. I'm like, how are you? But then their range of
yeah.
motion is like
I
3
forgot
inches.
that
I'm like,
story, yeah.
that doesn't count.
Well, that's another whole like topic that we can discuss. So, things that you learn, the growth that you explained.
Yes.
Is there something that you can take that into your everyday life?
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the best points I can make is in Korea, the first kickboxing fight, I got knocked down for the first time ever in training, in fight, like ever, right? And that was such a surreal feeling because you see it on TV all the time, right? You see people getting knocked out or getting dropped, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah.
So actually going through what that felt like, I was super dizzy, right? I didn't know where I was. I was just like, what's going on? After I stood back up, I made the 10 count. The guy rushed me again, and he got a good body shot on me, and I went down. So I took a knee, right? And it's, I hate to say it, but just like in the movies, it's an 8 count or a 10 count. So they go 1, 2, right? And you have only a certain amount of seconds to get up.
Right.
But that was like the longest 8 to 10 seconds of my life.
Whoa.
Yeah, because there were so many thoughts going through my head
Right.
while I was down. And one of the things that I really would say is quitting, like you mentioned, do you ever feel like, oh, I don't want to do this? Quitting crossed my mind in Korea, right? That fight, quitting crossed my mind. I was down on one knee and I thought, I can just quit here. I'm already down. I can let the count go out and the fight would be over. And I wouldn't have to fight anymore after this. Right? And I genuinely asked myself, I was like, do I want to quit? But getting to know yourself, right? I said, no, F that. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep fighting. And I stood back up, right? And then we ended up finishing that round, and then we finished the third round.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we slugged it out for one more round. And then I lost the fight by decision, but I didn't get knocked out.
Ooh.
I didn't get knocked out, and I got up from being down.
That would have made such a big difference, I think, like mentally.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, taking that into my life, I was like, if I can get up from that, and I didn't give up on myself.
Yeah.
I got to know myself. You know, I met, like, CJ. You know, I'm like, hey, I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
I know I'm always going to get up, you know? And
that's amazing. Yeah.
that translated so much into my personal life after that. Like, just anything I do. I'm like, am I quitting because it's convenient or because I genuinely don't want to do it? You know what I mean? Or am I quitting just because I think it's hard? When it's
Your
right now?
threshold.
My threshold
is-
raised significantly. And I forget, there's a quote too, someone said, everything's hard until it isn't.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've heard that before, right? I mean, it kind of sounds like a weird quote,
Yeah.
but if you think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah. Just that one moment.
That one moment, like, I would be honest with you, that one moment changed my life.
Yeah.
Mentally, it just changed my life.
And that's probably something that you've never like experienced before.
Oh,
like,
absolutely, no, never.
Not even close to it.
No, because you'll have emotional lows. You'll have, like, you know, people will beat you up, like,
Yeah.
physically. But to be in that moment where the fight was on the line,
Yeah.
where I could have easily given up, you know, and I said no, and I still fought, changed everything. And so when I went down in this last fight,
Yeah.
right, it wasn't even a thought. I was like, oh, I'm getting up.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I didn't see the punch, right? So I went down. I remember, like, laying there for a second, like, okay, I got hit. And then I see my coach across the way. He's just like, get up. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting up.
Yeah.
So it's like not even a thought anymore of like, oh, I can't do this. You know, and also in training,
Right.
Like, it's all closed doors, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's no crowd,
Right.
right? There's no crowd. There's no one to impress. It's just you and your teammates and your coaches. That's when it really counts, you know? So when you're tired, you got to work when you're tired. My old wrestling coach had said, you got to, what did he say? He said, you got to work through discomfort in order to gain comfort.
Right.
Right. And with anything in life, right? I mean, he was saying it in a wrestling sense, but with anything in life, you have to be uncomfortable to be comfortable.
That's so true.
It's super true.
Yeah. So taking that into what, like, your maybe your future matches and maybe with your work or like things that you like personal goals that you set for yourself could apply to anything.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
That
everything.
feeling.
You just can't give up. you know?
Yeah.
And if you do give up, understand why. Like, if it's just something you don't want to do, you know. But I'm glad, like, fighting is just giving me so much, and that's why I really enjoy it. Like, the community is one of the things I absolutely love about fighting. There's just so much community in it, and like to be able to punch someone, especially your teammates, right? To be able to punch someone in the face and at the end of the day go get beers. It's super cool.
Yeah.
You know, and you share, your bond is stronger. Like you met Yuki today.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I call him like my ototo. He's like my little brother. Right?
Sweet boy, yeah.
He is. But training together, going through tough times together, and like just fighting each other, you know, making sure we're keeping each other accountable, making sure we're training hard. Both of us are training hard for fights.
Yeah.
It builds a stronger bond, you know, versus just having like, hey, these are my friends.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, this is my teammate. You know, we go through tough times.
And punch each
We
other.
punch each other, you know, we slap each other in the face.
Yeah. And just like you like getting up from that when you got onto the ground, right?
Knockdown.
Knockdown. That's something, and you being able to get up from that, you know, it brings us back to what we talked about people saying about, you know, if I got knocked down, then of course I would get up, right?
Oh my God,
and then
yes.
you actually doing that is probably a completely different
Oh my
story.
God, there's so many. So because I fight, right?
Because I'm going to tell you to get up if I'm just watching, you know?
Of course.
Like, get the
right.
fuck up. But it's probably completely different too.
Oh, it's totally different, and it's funny that you say that because I fight and like I fight like competitively. I get a lot of people. You know, like if it comes up, I'm like, yeah, I fight competitively, and so many people. And I'm not trying to hate, right? They'll be like, oh, I used to fight too, and then they'll give their excuse on why they stopped. You know, like you don't have to give me an excuse. Like, just tell me, you know, you fought, you enjoyed it for what it was, and then you tried something else.
Yeah.
You know? But there was like, oh, I fought, but I stopped because I injured my shoulder.
Right.
I'm like, all right, well, are you better now once you fight again?
Yeah.
You know? But you know, for me personally, it'd be cooler if people were just like, yeah, I fought. You know, it wasn't really my thing, so I tried something else. No, just like be honest with yourself. I think that's important too, is being honest with yourself.
So the reasoning behind why people truly give up is maybe they weren't passionate in the first place.
Yeah, they weren't passionate and they didn't believe in themselves.
And that's okay.
That is okay. No, it's totally okay,
Yeah.
right? Because if you, for example, one sport that I'm like, I don't think I ever want to do that is free climbing or bouldering.
Okay.
Right, so I can boulder in a gym, but when you see these people bouldering on like actual rocks outside, like where they could fall and die,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Right, and I know personally that I would not want to do that. You know, I would try it, of course, but would I give up? Well, probably, because I'd be like, I don't want to do this. So it's totally okay.
Yeah. You just gotta find what you are passionate about and then stick to that. All right, so getting into the more of like the cultural things that I want to ask you. So you've obviously trained in Japan,
Yes.
in Korea. Have you trained in the States?
I have not trained in the U.S.
Okay.
I think they had said that in the fight introduction.
Okay.
Or like for Battle of Muay Thai that I had trained in the U.S. I haven't really trained in the U.S. Not really, no. Like,
That would be another experience, wouldn't it?
like I've done like a kickboxing cardio class and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, but I never like actually trained in the
Yeah.
U.S. So like I said, I've never had a coach that speaks English. So I'm kind of curious to see how I would react.
Yeah.
And how I would grow to have a coach that speaks English. I don't know if it'll be significant. It might not be, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's working pretty well with my coaches now.
Yeah.
And I'm learning
you
Japanese in the process.
Yeah.
So that's something I really enjoy too, like growing in that aspect.
Yeah, of course. And comparing Japan and Korea, maybe. Do you see any difference in like training styles and culture, or like how
do.
different countries approach the same sport?
Yes. So, as like in kickboxing in Korea, it was kind of weird. The reason why I had actually fought pro is because my coach was like, no, after a couple fights, most people want to go pro because they want to make money, right? But I feel like in Japan, it's common to have a long amateur career and then move to pro,
Right.
to gain that experience.
Okay.
Where in Korea, it's like, oh, like we're going to get a couple amateur fights, a couple semi-pro fights, and then start fighting pro just so you can get paid. But your record might not be that long.
Right.
You know, so that's one thing I did notice. And I, you know, at first I wasn't a fan because I was like, like I'm down to fight pro, but at the same time, I wanted a longer amateur record. Because once you go pro, you can't really come back to amateur.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because you've already fought professionally.
Right.
No protection. They're not going to let you come back. Just the experience gap is different. As far as like gym culture goes, that's just very subjective. It's just on the personality of the coach itself.
What about connection with your team? Would you say that was the same where you went?
That would be definitely gym by gym basis. So the gym I was at in Korea, it was a little bit more difficult. The coach was very knowledgeable, but the gym population, I guess, was mainly like kids and women and people and men that just wanted to go for fitness. Right. They weren't there to compete. So it was a lot harder to train like for competition. Just because I didn't have that environment around me, like, hey, let's do this. And it's all on me, right? It's on me as a fighter. But being in an environment that fosters competitiveness is absolutely phenomenal. Like it adds to my growth so much more, and it helps me mentally want to do what I do.
Smaller fish in a big tank.
Or was it small fish in a
I can't. Big ocean. Whatever. It's like
you don't want to be exactly. And I felt like that's how I was in Korea at my gym. I was the big fish in the small pond.
Yeah.
Just because I was the only one.
Completely got the quote wrong.
Yeah. That's okay. But I was the only one like competing. Like I had one teammate that was competing, but he was competing amateur. And it was like his first couple fights. But now I'm the small fish in the big pond. Right, I'm training with people, kids that are like 20 that are champions, and not even kids because they're champions and stuff. They've kicked so much ass before, and they've been doing it since they were like 12, maybe 10.
That's crazy.
But it helps me grow faster, and I hope to help them improve their game too, as champions and whatnot. But there are cultural differences. I'm actually very curious to see how it is to train in the States. I'm actually going home tomorrow. You know this. Back to the States for a 1 month vacation, and I'm gonna try and train as much as I can for a couple weeks. So I'll let you know after that how the
I'm very interested to know. Maybe there's like a personality factor involved in like Japanese, because Japanese people are very. I feel like they have different like training. It's almost like religion.
Yes. Oh yeah. Like I've noticed one thing about after school hobbies for Japanese students. It's very like once you're in that hobby for like that's your thing. Right.
Yeah.
So I agree.
It's like that. I feel like even in powerlifting, right?
Yeah.
I can only speak about powerlifting, but you have to be very the greeting.
Yeah.
It's like. When you go into the room, you got to say, konnichiwa, yoroshiku onegaishimasu, if you go into a powerlifting gym.
For the really?
Yeah, and you're literally training by yourself. I understand if it was like, like fighting.
Yeah, like a dojo or a gym.
Yeah, but you bow your head and be like, and greet everybody. When you go home, or like when you're training, you have to stop. Well, it's probably a good thing. You have to stop to look at people lifting when they're doing a heavy rep. And being like...
Oh, so you like put your head down.
You have to like stop what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
And then you have to turn around. Like even if you
like
don't know
respecting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when you go home, you have to like... So it's even if you're an adult. I thought that was only like a child thing, like elementary school. But... Not really.
That's honestly that's super interesting for powerlifting.
Yeah.
Solely because you're mainly working out by yourself.
Yeah, it's so weird. So I'd imagine it would be maybe a little bit different in the States of powerlifting.
I don't think they do that at all.
Yeah.
It's probably like, hey Jim, hey Ted.
Yeah. Can you spell me? Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like that. Very interesting. So let me know. Okay, so last few questions.
Okay.
Well, let's make it. Yeah, last few questions.
We can always continue to like later, yeah.
Yeah. What? Oh no. I'll stop.
What's up?
How many? Did it say? Oh, it's still an hour and 5 minutes. We're doing well. What is something that you have to be more mindful of now that you fought this match that you Like, I don't know. Do you
I would say, like, in general or just in fighting?
in fighting? Like, oh shit. Like, I didn't realize this before. By fighting on this last match, I realized that I need to start thinking about this more.
I would say my level of commitment.
Level of commitment?
My level of commitment. So, to be honest, I think this fight was a big indicator for me. Because I'm pretty, like, so I have work, right? I'm going to school online right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work opportunities right now that are coming up. As far as like changing jobs and things like and moving locations and stuff. So this fight was like a really big indicator of how I'm gonna approach my future, right? How I'm gonna approach, like, is fighting something I can make it a career? Is it something that's just a hobby? Is it something I want to, because it's a commitment. Is it something I want to commit to in general? And so before the fight, these are things, and also in my head going into the fight, I'm like, hey, it's kind of like make it or break it, right? Like, am I just gonna do this as a hobby? And winning the belt, like yeah, I think it just kind of gave me clarity and the belief that I can do whatever I put my heart to. You know what I mean? Whether that is fighting or if it's for work stuff or like learning a language or traveling, like I can. If I put my whole focus into it, I can do it. So looking at the fight now, like, I just have to really look at my level of commitment as far as, like, now that I know what needs to be done,
Right.
there's a standard. There's a standard that is set that I know in order for me just to be like the minimum, I have to hit that standard. I have to go to training
Right.
5 to 6 times a week.
Right.
I have to run the miles every day.
Yeah.
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 So really, it's just the time commitment thing, and measuring my commitment.
Right. I am a big supporter for people who do things that they're passionate about for a living.
Me too.
And I almost want to be like Gary Vee and be like,
yeah, that's what your parents say. Leave a job, just do it. Which is, it's true, because that's, like, fighting itself is a risk, and Gary Vee, like, preaches risks, and that's literally the only way you're gonna attain anything in life.
Yeah.
Like, so many people just are complacent, and they're okay with being complacent or comfortable, that they don't feel that sense of satisfaction from achieving something. And not everyone's going to, right? Like, we're all human, but that just makes it more worthwhile. Like, for you, Kenan, could you say if you died today, you'd be satisfied? Like, you'd be like, yeah, I could die today, and I'd be like, I lived a good life.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I try to be like that.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Like, I think if I died tomorrow, I wouldn't really have any regrets. I mean, I'd be like, oh, I died young, but I was like, no, I lived a pretty good life. Like, despite wins or losses or anything, like, just the things I've done in life, experienced, I've seen, like, I'd be okay dying tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people that can say that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are like, no, I regret this, or I've always wanted to do this. So why not, right? While we're alive, do what you can. Take the risks.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
And if, like, fighting taught you so many things in the few years, right?
Oh yeah,
Imagine
three. Oh my God.
Imagine if you continue to do this in your life as maybe like your career almost. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be an athlete. Maybe it could be something around fighting.
So that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I've thought about that. I'm like, let me get my experience as a fighter in, so I know I can be in those shoes, and then I can take that experience and like. So I'm going to school for international management right now, and I've thought about like being an agent, like a fighter agent, or like just working in the fighting community internationally, right? Something. I don't know what yet.
I remember you telling me this in our first encounter.
Yeah. I don't know what for, but I do want like to focus myself in the fighting community because it has given me so much. Yeah. You know, and one thing I learned from this fight is like the kids, my teammates that are kids. Yeah. Like they look up to me. You know what I mean? And I can tell like I have an influence on their behavior and the way they train. Yeah. So that inspires me to train even harder. Right? Because I want to be that good influence. I want to be that role model that I was looking for when I was younger. Right. Yeah, they say that. Be the person you wanted or you needed when you were younger.
Yeah,
Right.
you're probably like a hero for them.
Honestly,
Yeah.
and what's cool is, so I had my fight on last Sunday, right? And then they also, two of them had a fight this past Sunday. And even though like swollen face and all, I was like, I told my kaicho like, can I go? May I go? You know, so he brought me along with him. I was
Nice, yeah.
I was in their corner during the fight. You know, it was little, kid fights and stuff. Giving them water and just making sure they're good to go. But they came out to my fight for support, and I wanted to show them support. And same for you with your powerlifting meets, right? You came out to my fight. I want to support you.
I don't know how much you would enjoy powerlifting meets, CJ.
No,
it's very
no, I love watching powerlifting. It makes me want to lift. I'm like,
yeah, maybe the heavyweight people is
yeah.
like everyone gets really hyped for that. But for little people like me, it's like lifting little weight. I don't know how much you would enjoy it. I don't know.
It's like, because then I'm like looking at you, right? You're saying you're little, but then you're lifting this much weight. You can probably lift more than some of the other guys I know. You know what I mean? That are like my size or bigger. So that's
maybe could be fun. I definitely will invite you.
Yeah. I definitely want to go.
So what if listeners right now, people listening to this right now, they want to start fighting in Japan, or in a foreign country? What are some tips, like starting out?
Just go.
Yeah.
Go and be consistent. You know. So how I found my first gym in Misawa, Aomori, Misawa. I was drunk walking home one night.
Oh wow!
All right. So I was walking home drunk.
Dedicated, committed.
Right. And I saw a sign, I saw a gym, I saw a sign. I was like, oh, like that's something I've always wanted to try. And also, you asked why I started. I had made a promise to a friend like in 2017 or 2016. I was there because I told them like, that was one of my dreams. I was like, I want to fight one day. And they're like, you promised me you'll fight when you go to Japan? And I was like, okay, I promise.
Wow.
You know, it was kind of like, yeah, I promise.
Yeah.
But I always remember that, I kept that in my head. I was like, oh, let me keep that promise, just because. But yeah, so I was drunk walking home, saw the sign for the gym, took a picture of it. I think 2 months later, I actually called the gym. I didn't speak any Japanese at the time. And I was like, open? And they said, 730. And I said, okay.
Wow.
7, right? So I ended up showing up, and from there, I fell in love.
It's crazy how small things like that can make.
Yeah, I was drunk walking home.
Big difference, huh? And it's like you're almost like your life right now. Like half your life is probably in fighting. So
all of that.
Yeah, just small things like that can make a big difference.
I agree. But for the people that want to start fighting, I say just go, try it out. If you like it, just consistency is key, and it takes time. It takes time to get better, but take it day by day. That's like the really big advice. And
for the practical side, you also mentioned that there are fitness fighting gyms and competitive gyms, fighting gyms.
Yeah, not everyone has to compete, right? There's certain kickboxing gyms and Muay Thai gyms that are mainly for fitness and weight loss, and or just to learn in general for self-defense, because self-defense is something everyone should know.
Right.
And there's a lot of them. And I would really just look at the Google reviews, or look at the reviews on the gym, or a lot of gyms have trial classes. I say take a couple trial classes at different gyms before you pick one you really like, and really feel the vibe of the gym. I think that's and when you pick a gym, it's feeling the vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
That is suited for you.
Suited for you, not what your friends say.
Right.
Not what the gym owner is trying to convince you to feel.
Yeah.
It's how you genuinely feel. Do you enjoy it? Do you feel happy? Do you feel like it's a good workout? That's it. If you can leave at the end of the day and be happy, that's what's important. Like I said earlier, I'll be having a really bad day at work. I'll go to the gym, and I don't even want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I'll go to I'll go to Muay Thai practice, and by the end of practice, I feel 100 times better. So.
Yeah. And okay. So what would be your goals from now on?
Ooh. Okay. Goals. I want to fight. I just want to fight more.
Yeah.
I want to fight more, and Corona really kind of put a damper on that, right? But I want to fight consistently.
Yep.
I want to fight more. I want to have more fights. I want to just be a better...
Big or small.
Yeah, big or small. Be a better Muay Thai fighter. I want to learn so much more. There's so many more techniques, and it's like a video game. I want to level up, right?
Yeah.
And same with practice. 1% better every day. That's my motto, right? if you can be 1% better every day, that's all that matters.
Right. So you're more going for the experience more than the title.
Right. Like titles are cool. Like don't get me wrong. Like I'm sure one day I'll be like I want this title, but really I'm just enjoying the journey. You know, and like the belt is just it's like it's a symbol. You know, it's like oh you're champion, but really like I'm just happy of the journey I've been through. It's the dedication.
Yeah.
You know, the people I've met along the way. Oh my God, I've met so many cool people and so many good experiences.
Well, there you go. Where can people reach you? Like, do you have a social media account, Instagram, Facebook, OnlyFans?
All of the above.
OnlyFans too?
I'm actually waiting. OnlyFans. Subscribe to my OnlyFans. I'll start posting pictures soon. Let me lose a couple more pounds. But yeah, Instagram, and I think Instagram is what I use the most. At Cristian Joseph at Cristian Joseph.
Okay.
No H in the Christian.
Oh yeah.
At
Okay.
Cristian.
I will link that on the description of this episode. Okay, I think that should be about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Be on the
you.
show.
I appreciate it.
Okay, there we go.